I see your beard is longer than last time we met.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you present yourself?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Milan Drobnjak. I am working as a tourist guide. This is my full-time job. I finished the studies of the Arabic language, culture, and literature, and master degrees as well. So basically, I am in the Oriental studies. And yeah, this is kind of like shortly how to introduce myself.
Okay, so we can tell that when I went to Belgrade, we met each other because you were my tourist guide, and so we exchanged numbers because, in my opinion, you are a very neutral and intelligent person because obviously you studied the history of Serbia, and so obviously I asked you to come here today to tell about what is happening in Serbia because it's obviously something that the Italian public doesn't hear about. We know nothing about Serbia. I only understood that there was a massive protest in Belgrade because on social media I follow some Serbian accounts. And yeah, so briefly, what is going on? Why are there so many protests, and why is there such a big protest in Serbia today?
Yeah, I will try to explain it shortly, as simply as I can, even though this is actually a very complicated topic. But this is probably the culmination of the past 13 years since one party and one man are on power in Serbia. And right from the start, the level of the corruption started to increase, and now everything is corrupted in Serbia. So it's very, very hard. I mean, for a long time to find kind of like get a job if you're not a member of the ruling party.
Mm.
This was a common thing, unfortunately, with the previous regimes as well. But now it is on everyday scale life. You know, we're not talking about the high corruption. We're actually talking about the corruption in very, very low parts as well. Um, and basically, because they have this unprecedented power that they are everywhere and that they are controlling everything, the corruption started to increase. And we had a lot of the problems, a lot of the, uh, you know, um, things which were done over here, basically they weren't done. Nothing was repaired correctly. But because of this fear and intimidation by the ruling party, which was constantly installing that, no one actually wanted to rebel and to go out on the streets and actually, protest and express themselves and say what they think. Now, the culmination of all of this happened in the last year, in the November, when the renovated parts of the train station, so train station was completely renovated, but this one part on the outside, which was renovated, new, everything is fine, it collapsed and it killed 16 people. Actually, now we have the 16th victim. He died, I think, 3 days ago, something like this. And that moment, basically, no one for 1 month, no one is doing anything. There is no accountability. No one is basically giving up their position. No one stood out, basically stood down from its position. And this was a problem because people actually saw that this is it. They will not allow for any investigation to happen. They
Mhm.
will not public the documents. They will not deal with this tragedy and those who are responsible for it. And this is a moment when actually the protest started. And I have to say that the protests started to go really massive and important. They became important when the universities and students, they actually stopped working. So currently, Belgrade University, the universities all over the Serbia, the faculties, they are blocked for 3 months. So you don't have exams. They are not working, basically. They are blocked. And the students took on the streets. And this basically gave a huge boost for the people to go out. Also, related with the ruling party or not, this is still unclear. But we had 2 incidents that basically the cars, because they were blocking the streets and the traffic for 15 minutes, they were holding 15 minutes first of silence when we had the 15 victims at first. So they would start at 11:52 when actually the tragedy happened, when this part of the train station collapsed. And then for the next 15 minutes, they're just standing on the street in silence. And the traffic cannot pass. We had 2 incidents when the cars deliberately that they are protesting. And 2 girls were hit by the cars. You can check online. There are actual video clips. If you want, I will send you later. And this was actually why I'm saying this, because this was a personal reason why I went to the demonstrations. Because before that, you had this complete form of the, nothing is ever going to change over here. They're on power, they're controlling everything. But, with these types of the attack, I think this was the moment when people actually said enough. This was enough for me, personally.
Because the cars, sorry if I interrupt you, the cars were of the police or of citizens?
Of the citizens. Of the citizens, no, of the police, not of the police, but of the citizens. But as I said, because the corruption is on every single level, we really don't know still if they are linked with the ruling party or not. So this is, the thing about it. It's still open.
Absolutely.
The documentation was published, but huge parts are missing. And actually, our University of the Architecture is saying that we don't have the full documentation. And the government is saying, yes, of course, we published everything, but still the big pieces are missing. So there are actually 4 student demands. Not all those who actually attacked the students, but besides these 2 incidents, you had many more that actually they were attacking them. Some of them were the people in the municipalities that are working in the municipalities, and they are the members of the ruling party. So there are no charges which are pressed upon them. There is a lot of the things now currently which is happening. The biggest, first big massive protest was on Slavia Square in Belgrade. This is this big roundabout in Belgrade, which is the main one, where you had 80,000 people. So you had 80,000 people. Then there was the general strike in the Belgrade, where the demonstration, you had a huge march all over the Belgrade, which was going. We still don't know how many people was over there because of the movement of the people. They could not predict how much. There were massive demonstrations in Novi Sad, where actually the tragedy happened, in Niš, which is the 3rd biggest city, and in Kragujevac. In Kragujevac, it was held on the 15th of February, because this is also the statehood day of the Serbia, and in Kragujevac we started the second Serbian uprising in the place near it, and also our first law basically was brought over there, the modern of the Principality of Serbia. So there was a lot of the symbolics why they were in these places, and they had huge marches. So they were going on foot for, hundreds of kilometers to these places. Getting on foot, you had proper mountains. They were going hundreds of kilometers to these places because the main point was to pass through the small cells, which probably have older people who are not using internet, TV, and because of the media propaganda, they went over there personally to these people, and they were talking with these people. And the images are surreal because basically they were greeted like liberators. Like you had a war, and now this is the army which is coming to your place to liberate you. So there was a bunch of the food and drinks which these people brought out over there for these students. They were making rooms in their apartments, beds, to host them. So it's incredible. It's really incredible thing which is happening over here. And beautiful because basically people solidarity between the people is extremely big. The students also have the support from the farmers and from the bikers as well, and also from the war veterans. So we actually have the parachuters, which in the wars in the 90s and everything, the veterans, which are standing alongside with the students to basically protect them if something is happening. And I'm really talking about the elite forces of the military ex-personnel of these elite forces. So this is all leading to probably the one which now is very popular, the biggest protest in the history of the Serbia in Belgrade on 15th of March, which happened, where basically the estimations are between 300,000 and 1 million people were present on the streets of the Belgrade. Everything went peacefully, even though there is a problem because in the area where we have the presidential palace, which is right on the other side of the parliament. So you are familiar with the Serbian parliament because you were on that tour with me. In that park, there were students who wanted to go on a university and to study and stuff like this. But basically the night before, there are footages that they are leaving these places, and the guys with the hoodies and with the balaclavas are going in. So they basically brought some, I don't know, football hooligans, some other guys who were already over there to create the incidents. Luckily, nothing big happened, although still we probably, the government was using the LRAD sound system, so the sound cannon as they call it, which is using these noises to disperse the crowd. And it was used in one part. This is this King Milana Street, which is one of the main streets in Belgrade. So they were using that, and according to our law, according to our constitution, this is illegal to do. Still, this is very hidden. At first, have any of these, machines like this, but we actually had the officer of the police, which went out and said, yes, we have it. And it even had the presentation of it. So this is a problem because, at first they are lying, saying that they don't have something, that everything is transparent and stuff like this. But basically, if you look a little bit deeper with the investigation, you can see that there are huge gaps which are missing in the things which they are claiming. So currently now the situation in Serbia, but I have to say that everyday life, there are other things which we are doing, for instance, we are boycotting also the big supermarkets because the prices are too expensive for the Serbian standards. So this is another way how now many problems in peaceful way, in order basically to find a solution for this, because really no one wants the violence, no one wants any kind of the violent revolutions and stuff like this. We want everything just, and we want, this is actually the biggest fight, for the institutions, all of them, to be independent and not in the charge of the ruling party. So this is actually how big the corruption is, because the ruling party, they have the guys in every single institution and they are controlling them.
And the party is the party of Vucic?
Yes. His
because I have a question about this. A few months ago in Italy, it went viral, a video of Vucic, which was very preoccupied about World War III.
Okay, yeah.
Because he is against war, and Serbia is not inside the NATO treaty. And so because of journalists, independent journalists such as me, we saw Vucic as an outsider, a voice that was against the Western society, that is the Western society that exports democracy with bombs. And obviously, you know what I'm talking about, because
Yeah.
when you were 7 years old, you lived the war in Belgrade. And so the fact that there was this interview, the Italian public automatically thinks that Vucic is a good figure inside the geopolitical standpoint, because he is like Orban in Hungary, where he is against the war and is for peace and not for rearming Europe and creating an incident with Russia because of the war in Ukraine. And I remember that when I was in Belgrade a few months ago, I interviewed a professor that told me that probably there is some kind of power, probably obviously Western power, that wants to put Serbia in the same position as Ukraine. It wants to create a second Ukraine with Serbia. So detach the government that is for Russia, for Putin, and create another satellite for the Western society, and so creating a menace, a bigger menace for Russia. So in this political, geopolitical view, do you agree with this, or Vucic is not actually what we think in Italy he is, and he is that was just like an interview that was, I don't know, casual?
Not really. I have to say that he is very skilled in balancing. It's kind of like, sitting on two chairs, that he had some of the successes. With Trump coming in the United States, this position now is getting even better for this moment, to stand on two chairs. And yes, Serbia is constantly having huge pressures from the West to basically, we're not, we don't have any sanctions which we have towards Russia.
Yes.
So these were the pressures that actually we had. But the Vucic is actually, he's very skilled in presenting, So he is presenting on the outside as a rebellious type of the guy.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, over here in SAR, huge things which are doing actually very secretly. For instance, the Rio Tinto lithium. They want basically to give one part of the Serbia for the extraction of the lithium to the Rio Tinto. So we had also the huge protests against that, because this is in one fertile part, which is extremely fertile, agricultural, rich parts of Serbia, actually. That they basically, nothing will be over there. You have the lithium. This will be basically, a disaster over here, ecological disaster. This is the thing number one. The thing number two is that also with the costs we don't recognize, and we have big problems over there. Since he came on the government, actually more and more we're losing our position over there.
Okay.
So there were some of the serious things which he actually allowed over there. And there was not, and he didn't react to any of the serious threats which were happening over there. So this is number two. Also here in Belgrade, we have the Belgrade waterfront area, which more. Let me repeat it like this. This is not part of our territory anymore. We don't know to whom it belongs to. And
really?
Yeah, this is so big that not even the Serbian police can go over there to do investigation. Okay. Yeah. So, on one side,
it became like an extra territory, like the Vatican.
Precisely, something like this, something like this. But Vatican is still kind of Italian.
Yes.
This is not Serbian at all. So this is the big problem. This is the problem here for the common people that we are aware of. So yes, on one side, Vucic is having this stance, and he's presenting over there as the voice of the peace and stuff like this, because let's be honest, this is the voice of all of the Serbs.
Yes.
That we who had wars over here. I'm fourth generation in my family that experienced the war. I was 7 years old when NATO was bombing Serbia and Belgrade, and I remember it. And of course that, we want everything to be done with the dialogue, and with the, to have peaceful solution of everything, not to go in the war. This is first thing that we want. So when he's saying things like this, it's not necessarily Vucic is saying this. Basically, it's the voice of the Serbian people. He has to do that, to say things like this, if he wants to have, stable situation over here and under the control. But inside there are serious things which are happening, where basically we're losing parts of our country, and we're not in charge of it anymore. There are the factories as well. In one of the factories, actually, very recently, all of the Serbs, which were Serbian workers over there, were fired, and they were replaced with the people from India, which came over there. So basically, now in our country, workers which are very skilled, are getting fired, so that they can bring the foreign working force, which of course will labor force. So this is also what these protests are about. That.
So it's impossible. It's a colored revolution.
No. This is
not a colored revolution.
These are the biggest pro-Serbian demonstrations which we had in 30 years. Okay. I didn't saw any flag of the European Union or NATO. Actually, the people who came with these flags, they had to take it down. They were pushed away from the protest.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, no member of the opposition, because we are so disappointed in the politics that we don't even believe the opposition.
So it's not, for example, for the other party.
No. It's not for the party. This is strictly that the people want, to make decisions in their own country. And this is even, outside from the political parties as well. So the members of the opposite parties, they were basically pushed out from the demonstrations. They were banned to show up on the demonstrations. We said, the students said, don't come over here, don't take anything, because you make things even worse. So get out. This is not your fight. This is what we are doing as the citizens of the Serbia. Huge amount of, I don't know, flags of the first Serbian uprising from 1804. You have the flags, with many of the saints over there, Serbian flags. So these, the energy is really, really great. It's very peaceful. And you have people from all of the parts of the society with different political views, which is also a good thing. And they're side by side demonstrating completely peacefully because, they want basically these changes to happen, So these are not colored revolution. This is a usual mantra, which it was done, for many, many years, over here, decades, really. And if you can say, I mean, of course, one more time, the time will show. But in my personal opinion, you don't have anyone from the outside which is involved over here. And as I said, the demonstrations are happening for the past 4 months. The problem is that now people in the world know about it. So the question is why European Union was quiet about this issue for such a long time.
Yes,
So
I understand.
one more time, if we're talking about this lithium, the biggest push for Serbia and Vučić to open this lithium mine is coming from Olaf Scholz. Okay, he's the biggest guy who's talking this will be groundbreaking thing, economical one for the Serbia and stuff like this, But people now realize that the instant money is not everything, and that if you have an agriculture, if you have a fertile land which you protect, on a longer time, this will be better economically. Then now we sell this, we extract the lithium for how long, we don't know. And then, maybe after 20, 30 years, you have a desert over there in this part of the Serbia, which you cannot use for anything, And this is it. Money is spent, And of course, one more time, it's questionable how much people of Serbia will benefit, because as I said, the system is very corrupted. So they actually take the majority of the money in their own pockets. So this is the thing which is going on over here with the current government. So this is the tricky situation a little bit. He is presenting, himself as kind of like the independent guy, very kind of like, just to tell you one more example. Now I remember yesterday we had a commemoration of the NATO, and we had huge demonstrations in front of the military headquarters, which was bombed in 1999. It was left in the original state. We didn't have the demonstrations only because 26th year since the NATO bombing is happening, but also because this entire complex, which was bombed by the NATO, is now given to the son of the Trump, where he wants to destroy these buildings completely, which are one of the most biggest visible monuments of the NATO bombing, for him to actually build Trump Tower over there in Belgrade and a hotel. These buildings are protected as the monuments of the culture and of the architecture. So this is actually is being done. We are selling, we are giving our, monuments of the architecture. So imagine, something, to happen, a building which is protected as the monument of the culture and of the architecture with a very big significance, that you simply give it, and someone else destroys it and builds something else instead of it. Plus, also, America was leading the NATO bombing. America was leading the main propaganda against the Serbia in the 90s, in the early 2000s. So now you're giving the symbol of this bombing, of this suffering, to the Americans who bombed it.
It's
That's
horrible.
actually, this is actually the level of, to which extent actually this government came. So now they don't even care. They basically are giving everything because, I don't know for what, because already they have insane amount of the money which they have. But they simply need more money, and it's all the instant cash. So this is a problematic thing. And these are actually the things which we are having currently in Serbia. I mean, currently for a very long time, but now with these demonstrations, actually they are getting more visible. So yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking about the thing about the colored revolution. Probably it's not even because they would never use the LARD weapon against the people if it was something that was for the system, for the Western Union, for NATO, for the European Union, because this repression happens only if the protest is really against the system and against the system of power. And the fact that the numbers of the protests are so high is a demonstration, again, for me and for the people who are listening, that the Serbian people are just made of something else. And they are there to extend a lesson to every single country around the world. Because, in my opinion, you were targeted mainly because of the Serbian spirit and the fact that you never give up as a country, as a union of human beings that recognize each other inside a flag, an identity, a history. And that is why you all are extremely prepared and conscious of your position inside the world. So, Milan, thank you very much. I don't know if you have something else to say about the situation there, generally speaking.
No, but basically because as a tourist guide, I have to say that now, I mean, generally speaking, in all of the spheres, the jobs are, we can see that actually it is decreasing because people are worried for the safety and stuff like this. Some of the most peaceful demonstrations which we had in our history. And also, it's, I always say to the people, go on a demonstration, really, there will be no problem over there. People are taking care of each other. And it's still the life goes normally. The life goes normally over here, because you have to understand that even during the bombing in the 1999, the life was going on over here still. People were going to the job, people were sitting outside, they were drinking coffee, they were going in green markets and groceries till 7 o'clock. When you are at your home, you eat dinner, because that's around 8 something, the sirens will start, and then you'll go to hide from the bomb. So during the day, you have regular life, And then during the night when the bombing is happening, you are in the shelters hiding, and stuff like this. So this is a really unique thing about the Serbian mentality that actually shows to you how we don't panic, and we are very calm during these moments of the crisis, and we know what we are doing, you know. So we are very much aware of the situation around us. As I said, the main interest over here is peace, to do everything peacefully as well. So the demonstrations are completely peaceful, the life in peaceful. Really, there are no problems for the people who come over here to Serbia and to the Belgrade. Actually, everything is still functioning. We are not uh, um, in shut down. Probably the biggest problem is, when you say demonstrations in Serbia, that never sound. Even though I say you have much violent demonstrations in Athens, in Paris, and in stuff like this. I mean, in the past 30 years, Molotov cocktails were never used on the demonstrations here in Serbia, while this is regular thing in the Athens, or in the Paris. And people are still during demonstrations going to the Athens and to the Paris to see them, of course, because they are very important cities. They have a lot of the culture. People over there are great as well. So this is the same thing over here, even better. Our completely peaceful city and the country are still functioning. So it's really okay time to travel to Serbia and to see with your own eyes, because also you experience that on your tour. I want to give this other side, human side of the Serbian, of the Serbs, basically, to see that we are normal people, we are normal country, we are living with the normal life, over here, and we want always to represent that and to share as well.
Absolutely. And even because the protests, as you explained, are for internal political problems, not of geopolitical external problems, that you're against the fact that Serbia has a position geopolitically that you don't agree to.
Yeah. This is strictly about the internal issues. This is not about the geopolitical issues at all. As I said, these are not pro NATO, pro EU, not even, against NATO and against the EU demonstrations. They are strictly about the internal things which are happening in Serbia. So they have nothing to do actually with the geopolitical situation currently in the world. Also, honestly, still, and we'll see what will happen later on. But right now, I would say that actually the Europe doesn't need another front. NATO doesn't need another front in Kosovo, in the Balkans, or wherever in the Balkans, because still with the Ukraine, things are going on. And also, we'll see how this will end as well, how long it will last. But since basically the war in the Ukraine started, we actually had bigger push, from the EU to finish the things with the Kosovo, because they want to close that front over there. This is actually the situation over here. That also people are protesting for the protection, of our territorial integrity and sovereignty, and for the respect of the UN Resolution 1244, where basically Kosovo, the Republic of Serbia, under the jurisdiction of the international peacekeeping forces. This is actually very interesting because, as I always say, all of the countries which recognize Kosovo as independent states, they base this UN resolution. This is actually the thing, and we probably can have this other interview where we can make links between the Kosovo and the Ukraine today, which is
Absolutely.
happening. But
That would
no,
be very interesting.
yeah, Kosovo was a precedent. Kosovo was a precedent which led to the Ukraine situation, and which can create a lot of tensions between many of the territorial disputes which you have all over the world. So this is actually, I would say, a trap in which the West actually fell into. This is actually, the situation now. A little bit about the geopolitical things I was talking about. Of course, they are related with the interior situation in these demonstrations, but predominantly demonstrations are totally about the interior things over here in Serbia. So that is the main thing. They are not supported by anyone from the outside. These are strictly people demonstrations that we are having over here.
Perfect. Milan, thank you very much for this interview. It was very important for me because I had many things that were going on in my head, but I didn't have a clear understanding because I had no information. There is no information in Italy. And so thank you very much. This was very precious. And I hope that we can agree again to do another interview about this thing that we are saying now about Kosovo and Ukraine, which is extremely interesting. Extremely interesting.
Yes, thank you very much for having me as your guest. So yeah, we'll be in touch, and then we'll see some of the other ideas about the interviews that we can have. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Ciao a
Bye.
tutti. Ciao a tutti. Ciao ciao ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.